What's up guys, Tommy Bowyer here from Movie Rewind, and today I'm going to talk about why I think that critics and the media in general are having such a negative impact on the state of Doctor Who at the moment. So without further ado, let's get into it. Doctor Who, it is a British institution. It's been running on and off since 1963. It has such a diverse fan base. Now, I would not say that I am a massive Doctor Who fan. I have watched it since the revival and have loved it since the revival, but I've never been able to get into classic Who, even though I've tried several times. I just can't get into it. But saying that, I have a lot of respect for long-term Doctor Who fans, Whovians, as they're often referred to, because I would say they're some of the most accepting fans out there, for the simple reason Doctor Who is a show which every couple of years will change. The main actor will leave, the majority of the cast will leave, and the production team will change over. The show will experience a regeneration every 3, 4 or maybe even 5 years, and Doctor Who fans, for the large part, have been able to accept it. Especially fans who've been watching the show since the 60s, 70s and 80s. They've accepted that every couple of years Doctor Who will change. It has to adapt in order to remain relevant. And the majority have accepted these changes for what they are. But there are some golden rules which the show's creators put in place and which long-term fans really hold close to their heart. And that is that you never reveal the Doctor's name or go into his backstory too much. The show's called Doctor Who, after all. You want to keep the viewer's imagination guessing. You don't want to give them concrete answers for who the Doctor is and what his motives and backstory are. The premise is that the Doctor is a rebel Time Lord who stole a TARDIS from Gallifrey and goes travelling throughout space and time with companions helping people. That's the premise of Doctor Who, and that is why it has remained relevant for the last 60 years, because fans know that whatever happens, this premise will not change. And then we get to the current era of Doctor Who under Chris Chibnall. Now, I've made several videos on this, so I'm not going to delve into it too much. But Chibnall decided to answer questions which fans didn't want to know the answer to. He decided to rewrite Doctor Who's history, to change the lore. William Hartnell was the first Doctor? No. He weren't the first Doctor. Not by any means. The Doctor had regenerated over 100 times before William Hartnell came along. That undermined the history of the show. For fans who had watched the show since 1963, it felt like an insult, because the one thing which they felt the show was based on was now completely changed to suit a modern audience who hadn't watched the show as long as they had. And that's what Chris Chibnall didn't understand. He felt that he could just change the show without any consequences, but he alienated long-term fans. And what he didn't get was that long-term fans will support your programme through thick and thin. No matter how bad a programme gets, your long-term fans will watch it, they will campaign for this programme, they will support the programme to make sure that it stays on air. But if you insult those long-term fans, then they won't tune in. And if they don't tune in, then you've lost such a reliable viewership. And that's exactly what's happened. Since Chris Chibnall took over, ratings for Doctor Who have tanked. But it's not just Chris Chibnall's fault. I think he should carry a lot of the responsibility. But maybe it's people outside of the Doctor Who programme who've caused such division amongst the fan base and have just isolated a lot of the fan base. And that is critics and the media. Now, the critics and the media have a massive influence. I know some people will say that they don't care what the critics say about programmes or what the media says, but they do influence you more than you think. Your interactions with the media and critics will often be the deciding factor about whether you tune in to watch a programme or not. So I thought in today's video I'd give kind of a little explanation of how the media and critics have just divided the Doctor Who fan base even more than it already was. Firstly, let's look at the critics, because critics and fans don't always get along. Fans can often appreciate subtle details which critics can't, and I think that has a lot to do with how much you're into the show. If you're just a bog standard TV critic who watches multiple shows but you never really get into it, then obviously you're not going to have the same influence watching a show as a long-term fan who understands everything which is going on. But, you know, for the most part, critics and fans used to respect one another, they used to get along, and 9 times out of 10 they're on the same page. And I'm just looking at Rotten Tomatoes, and I know Rotten Tomatoes, it's not the be-alls and end-all, but I think it does kind of is a useful site because it does give an average of what both critics and fans are thinking and whether or not they're on the same page on a particular series. So if we look at Doctor Who Series 1, which is the first series of the 2005 revival, it has Christopher Eccleston as the Doctor. Really strong series of Doctor Who, one of my personal favourites. So if we look at the critics score, 83% critic score, 96% audience score. So yeah, audience score, the fans, obviously it's a bit higher, but for the most part, critics and fans united that was a solid series of Doctor Who. And actually, if you look on Rotten Tomatoes, for the most part, throughout the Eccleston era, the Tennant era, the Smith era, even the Capaldi era, fans and critics kind of on the same side on most things, but that changed with the start of the Chibnall era. With Jodie Whittaker as the 13th Doctor, Series 11, we see a critic score of 90%. Now, that is actually 7% higher than Doctor Who Series 1. But if we look at the audience score, 20%. That marks a 70% difference between what the critics are thinking and what the audience, the fans, are thinking. Now, those figures continue to shock me because never have I ever seen the critics so heavily favouring a series and the fans so heavily against a series. Now, if you ask me, Series 11 is a terrible series of Doctor Who. It's one of the worst of the modern era. It's boring, it's bland, none of the episodes stand out, and the majority of them are just so bad they're not even funny. So it's clear critics have a very different opinion of what is considered a good series compared to what fans. And it's not just Series 11. Things don't improve. If we look at Chibnall's next series, Series 12, it's even more damaging. You have a 78% critic score, a 16% audience score. Now, Series 12, that's with The Timeless Child, when they changed Doctor Who history, made out that William Hartnell weren't the first Doctor, so that upset hundreds, if not millions, of fans, including myself. Even though I'm not a big classic Doctor Who fan, I did feel that it was just not right that they completely changed Doctor Who history, especially when they seem to have done nothing with it since they changed it. Now, what does this show? If you ask me, this shows that critics are increasingly out of touch with what fans of Doctor Who are thinking. And this is a problem because Chris Chibnall, as a showrunner and writer, he don't listen to what the fans are saying. He listens to what the critics are saying, and the critics are saying that they love Series 11. You know, if you're making something and a professional critic is telling you that it's perfect, then you're not going to change your ways. You're going to just assume that that's what needs to be done. It doesn't matter if a few fans are pissed off. Why do they matter? They're not a professional critic. They obviously don't know what they're on about. So this is the problem. Critics are so out of touch now. I mean, that is, as I said, with Series 11, there is a 70% gap in what the critics and audiences are thinking. Now, that shouldn't be the case. I'm sorry, but that shouldn't be. No way is Series 11 having a higher critic score than Series 1? That is insane. That's ridiculous. And obviously, last but not least, the media. And I'm talking about organisations such as Digital Spy and Screen Run, because I actually used to support these particular media outlets. I thought, you know, they were quite interesting. They used to keep fans informed about certain things. They would always be doing like lists, like top 10 Doctor Who series finales, and I always enjoyed them. But in recent years, the media, especially like sites like Screen Rant, have kind of left fans' opinions behind, in my personal opinion. You know, throughout Chris Chibnall and Jodie Whittaker's time in charge of the show, they've been bringing out articles in support of what they've been doing. You know, they were gushing over Series 11 as this brave, progressive series, which hasn't been truly understood by a sexist fan base yet. You know, they've called out Doctor Who fans, accusing them, anyone who doesn't like this show, as sexist or homophobic or racists. And, you know, if you're being accused of all those things, you're not going to tune in to watch a show. So if the media is saying that you're a bigot, you're not going to watch the show because you don't like being insulted, which is completely understandable. And it's quite funny, actually, because since Series 13 came out last year and Chris Chibnall announced that he'd be leaving the role as showrunner, the media have turned on him. They're now saying, you know, oh, he did nothing right. You know, we need to make up for the mistakes they've done with this show. But the funny thing is, some people are saying, especially in the media, that it should go down an even more progressive route. No. God, no, that is not the answer. If you're anyone working for Doctor Who at the moment, do not listen to the media. They got you into this mess. You felt pressured by the media to kind of put all of these progressive ideas into your show, and all it's done is suffocated it. So don't listen to them. They got you into this mess. And you know, and it's funny because the media never changes. When the 14th Doctor was announced, now I've never seen the actor in anything, but I look forward to seeing what he can do. Russell T Davies is showrunner, so I have confidence. And as long as he's charismatic and can kind of bring his all to that role, then I think he will succeed very well. But the media have gone for the basic and most stereotypical things, saying he's black and he's famous for playing a gay character. Now, if you ask me, this stuff shouldn't really matter. Yes, it's a milestone. He's the first black actor to play the role. But when you consider that only 14 actors have ever portrayed the Doctor, or a proper incarnation of the Doctor, then we should be focusing on how much of an achievement that is for an actor. I mean, the actors who have portrayed Doctor Who, that's been their most famous role. You know, that kick-started the majority of their careers. So, and I'm not saying he should be grateful, because he is. He sounds grateful, he sounds very humble. But the media are making out that, oh, he's black, so this is a fantastic opportunity. Doctor Who have finally done something correct. And it's like, don't focus on that. Just focus on that this is a new actor portraying the 14th Doctor. It's a new era for the show. And that's what I don't get. The media, you know, lambast us with all these things about how we should be progressive and how we shouldn't take things like ethnicity and sexuality or gender into consideration. But then they do. You know, every media article, when it was announced, the first thing they were saying was the first black actor to portray the role. That shouldn't be the case. They should just be saying that he is an actor and he's portraying a role, and I hope he makes it his own. I'm actually rooting for him and new showrunner, or returning showrunner, Russell T Davies, to make Doctor Who a success. Because I think what people don't understand is that, did I want Doctor Who to struggle during the Chibnall era? No. I was hoping that he'd prove me wrong. I was hoping it would be successful, and it's actually hard. I've watched the show since 2005, and seeing it struggle to get in even 3 million viewers is devastating, because I still watch this show because I don't want to see it cancelled. So thanks for watching, guys. I really do hope you enjoyed this video. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe in order to receive great and maybe even improved quality content in the future. Now, this is all just my opinions. It's been rattling around in my head for a while, and I just thought I'd put on the camera and kind of discuss it. If you agree with me, that's great. If you don't, then fair enough. You know, we're all allowed different opinions. You know, we shouldn't be cancelled or anything just because we have a different opinion or called an idiot or anything. So, you know, now I have an exam, my Open University exam, on the 9th of June. So I'm going to try and get a video out next week. But if I don't, then there is a good reason why, because I've had to focus on my revision. So I am sorry about that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in another one. See ya!